Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks.
Did you think going into high school you'd take classes that would literally line you up for a wonderful profession?
No, I did not. I honestly, it was kind of like a backup thing. I did it because it was interesting, and I wanted to have some kind of mechanical or electrical or just some kind of skill that nobody could kind of take away from me. It was kind of more on the back burner. I thought I was going to go play college football and, go be a nutritionist. Hurt my knee, didn't work out. Fell back onto the HVAC in high school at the classes that I was taking, and little did I know it'd be my career.
So what made you sign up for those classes in high school?
So we had a welding program, and we had that new program for HVAC for residential. I was going to go do welding because that's what my family does. A lot of my family members, my pops, and my teacher, Rusty, that I had at that time, he actually went to the principal, kind of got the background on a few kids, like, what they kind of do, what their family does. And he pulled a few of us aside and was like, hey, man, would you be interested in taking this class? I really think, you could benefit from this. This would be something that'd be a little more interesting and, maybe not just do the welding thing and you have another skill in your pocket. And I thought, what, if he's going to go out of his way just to, pull me aside, just some kid aside and try it, I figured, what, let me go ahead and go for that. So that's what I did.
So you took HVAC and plumbing, right? Because wasn't he teaching both? Or do you get to pick which one he really teaches you?
He was doing HVAC,
okay.
And you get a little bit of plumbing, with running like drain lines and stuff like that. But it was mostly like HVAC, both the refrigeration and electrical side of things.
So what was it that he said that made you think, wow, this could be good for me?
Man, it was honestly, it's just the fact that he went and pulled me aside and took the time out of his day to say, hey, I have an interest in you and I'd like for you to try to do this. The welding program didn't do that. I mean, most teachers don't. What you'll come to find out, if you ever meet Rusty, is like, he's a really good dude. He really cares about his students and be able to prevail in something other than just college or some kind of higher degree outside of high school. And I just like that he came up to me and was like, hey, I'd really appreciate it if, gave us some thought. I think you would do good. And, I didn't really know him, but I took a chance because he just came out swinging and said, hey, I would like for you to come do this. So it felt like I was wanted there. So that's what I went and did.
So how well were you prepared then when you got out, you get out of high school?
Mm-hmm.
Did you go straight to work for a company or how did you move on from there?
So I had a local company out here in McKinney called ACIS. They kind of hired me. They gave me a scholarship, straight out of high school to go to Oklahoma State IT in Okmulgee. And I was pretty hyped about that because that's a big Division I school. And I kind of read up online and they make really good, programs. And a lot of people come out doing very successful. And I went for it. So straight out of high school, I was going to Collin College to kind of get my basics because it'd be a little cheaper for me. And then I would go do the, the HVAC courses they had.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd work and I'd go to college, like 8 a.m. to 11. And I'd go down the street to their office, to the shop. And I would just scrap units, recover refrigerant out of units that they bring out from the field and evacuate recovery machine tanks and have them ready to go back out to the guys in the field.
So 3 years of it in high school.
Yes, sir.
How long were you at Collin College?
I would say 6 to 8 months, just doing basics.
2 semesters in?
Yeah, but 2 semesters. Yeah,
okay.
2 semesters, and then I went to Okmulgee.
And how long were you at Oklahoma State?
I was there for probably, from Collin to Oklahoma, probably about a year and a half. It was a great experience, but I saw a greater opportunity outside of the company that gave me that scholarship, and I decided to take it.
And What was that opportunity?
Company called Johnson Controls that I work for now. They were paying more money, and I wouldn't have had any college debt. And so they paid for the school. It's the union, they pay for the company pays for your books and all that other stuff. So I decided to take that route because I could make more money and not have any debt, school debt.
Man, there's a lot of kids going to college to learn a trade. There's a lot of kids that go to work for an open shop company and never learn a trade. Mm-hmm. They just learn from the plumber they're with. Mm-hmm. Do you think that going to Collin College, Oklahoma State, even high school with Rusty, do you think learning in the classroom before you ever went out in the field helped you?
I think learning from Rusty, absolutely. He gave me kind of my basics on refrigeration and electrical. And if you can really get established in your basics, you can, as long as you don't give up, you can eventually get through whatever that troubleshooting is for that call you're on. Collin College in Oklahoma, like the normal classes that everybody takes for your basics, didn't
reading, writing, and arithmetic.
None of that did anything for me. Now Okmulgee, their HVAC program is top of the line. They get real detailed, and you can really get into knowing the insides, outs, refrigeration, electrical. That was very good. I just at the time couldn't afford, going there. So they did help a little bit there. But I would say 80 to 90% of everything is just what you learn from your journeyman or on the job experience, because nothing beats hands-on experience.
This video is sponsored by Leak Pro. Go check out leak-pro.com.
So you got 3 years in Lehman Forest in HVAC, right? Yeah, sophomore, junior, senior?
In Princeton. My junior.
Okay, Princeton. Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Senior year.
You went to Princeton, not Lehman Forest.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when you were in Princeton, how many years did you have HVAC?
It was 2. So it was your junior and senior year, and it took up 2 periods. So it was about an hour long, each day you would go.
Okay. Then you go to Collin College for 2 semesters. Then you go to Oklahoma State for 1.5 semesters, I guess?
Yes, sir.
Or 2 semesters there? A year and a half?
Yeah, about 2 semesters.
2 semesters there. And then you go to the union, and they want you to go to school again.
Yes, sir.
For 5 years.
For 5 years, 2 nights a week, 4 hours a night.
You studied a lot of HVAC.
I have. And, there's times you dread having to go to school, because it's night school. It's after work.
You bet. 5 to 9, something like that.
Like 5 to 9 and 5 to 9, 5 to 8, something like
2
that.
2 days a week.
2 days a week. And I do HVAC, during it's busy. You'll work all kinds of hours. You want to go home, but
got to go to school.
I got to go to school. And
in the union, you only get to miss 2 classes a semester.
Yes, you only miss 2 classes, and if you better have a good excuse if you miss any more than that.
No, if you miss any more than that, sometimes they'll just say that, you're out. Thank you, bye.
Yes,
yeah. You understand you could have gone straight to the union out of high school.
Yes, sir.
Are you glad you went to Collin College in Oklahoma?
I'm glad I got to experience it. Like I said, I got family in the union. I kind of wanted to go off, do my own thing, and just kind of didn't work out. And I saw a better opportunity, and I was like, man, let me go to the union. I called Johnson up, and they got an interview, and they kind of tested me over the phone over some basics and everything like that. And they told me I was hired, and then I just needed to go to the local and get my paperwork done.
So you went different than most people. You went to Johnson and let them bring you into the union. A lot of people go down the union hall and sign up and just wait to get sent out somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So I did that because, like I said, my pops is in the union, and I had asked him, like, hey, what are some of the better companies there in the union? And Johnson came up as number 1. So I reached out to them, and they happen to know my pops a little bit. And so I was able to get a direct number to a service manager. I called him, we did the interview over the phone, and he hired me right then and there, and I just had to get my paperwork.
Cool deal.
Yes, sir.
So take just a minute and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So my name is Benny Montoya. I am now second generation going into the local. I am a journeyman HVAC mechanic. Work on commercial and heavy duty commercial chillers, air cooled chillers, water cooled chillers. I know how to do residential too. I think there's a lot of people get a separation that just because you can work on chillers, you can't work on residential units. I think as long as you have your basics and you keep an open mind to work on anything, any kind of equipment, any kind of brand, you can further yourself very well in all degrees of this trade.
So when you were in Princeton, you probably learned more residential there, didn't you?
All residential, yes, sir. Yeah, Rusty taught residential. Now he is getting help from companies like yourself or Doug Johnson. I've gone a couple times to speak to the kids there, and sometimes we'll donate equipment, like a smaller test trainer, like a chiller. And it gives opportunities for kids like I had, but even better that you don't get to learn just residential. They can also show you the commercial aspects. And I think to a company, when you're coming out straight out of high school, trying to, get a career, that kind of experience and training at that age, as long as you stick with it, I mean, that's invaluable to companies. They take experience now over degrees, and to have that kind of experience, the hands-on to learn both residential and commercial, it's invaluable. You can do so much with it.
I've had HVAC people in before, but they're almost all residential. Mm-hmm. How's your day different than a residential HVAC person? They come in, they get a call to go to Miss Johnson's house and her air conditioner's not working. What are your days like? So
my days, they're pretty relaxed. They're pretty chill. I work for the factory. Johnson owns York. So that's primarily what I get to work on. I work on some other brands from time to time, but it's very chill. We already have these service calls. Most of the time we're kind of lined up a month ahead out. Every now and again, sometimes if it can be pushed, like it's a maintenance or something, we can push the maintenance and do that service call that day. I'll go to if I need to get parts, I'll go to the shop, but typically they got their own app, so we know where we're going and stuff. So you click it, you go to pick the address, go to it. It could be a service call. It just depends. And if you talk to the customers, a lot of these customers, after a while, you're repeat customers, you know them. You talk to them, you call them on the phone, like, hey, before you get there, you kind of get some information like, hey, you know what? I'm 30 minutes out. I'm leaving this call. I'll be there. What information do you got? Like maybe the chiller that was going off on like a flow switch. Well, sometimes the BMS might mess up or the valve might be shut, and you can call them and be like, hey, your valve's open and all this and that. Maybe it was the valves. And there you go. You kind of just address the service call just over the phone, just by simply making sure valves were open. So it's pretty easy, pretty good work life, I'd say. Then as long as you do what you do, take care of your customer, be safe, and make Mama Johnson some money, you can pretty relax. You can do as you please. You kind of run it like your own business.
So how many calls do you normally go on a day?
It just depends. If it's just a kind of day where you do service calls, it kind of just depends on what it is. You could go 1, you go 2, 3, 4, 5 service calls. But usually when you get towards doing that many, you're usually going past your normal, 8-hour shift, which gets in the overtime, which is nice. It just depends on the type of problem. It could be a quick, easy fix, or it could be one that it's a head thinker. You got to get into it real deep. And sometimes you have to call tech support, and every now and again, tech support don't know it either. So it's very interesting. You're always learning. And it feels real good when you can especially fix those head thinkers. It brings a lot of relief, and then a little bit of joy, because sometimes they'll be like, hey, we had this company out or these many guys out. We can't get it fixed. They're frustrated. And as long as you're calm, cool, and collective, and just kind of keep it straight with them, and figure it out, and you can save the day. Could be a hospital, could be a data center, could be just a commercial skyrise building. You know, people love their air conditioning. So to get them
in
up.
Texas, it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. And it's very humid around here, too. So that heat is even hotter than normal or where a dry heat would be. And humidity plays a big factor in the commercial side of things as far as working against you.
I remember one time, because I used to be with Brant and Beard. God knows, I don't even remember what project it was on, but I was a superintendent, and I'm looking at these prints and the HVAC, and it's MUA, and I'm like, oh, what is MUA? I hadn't heard of this one. And you're looking at all kinds of things and back and forth, and makeup air. And I thought, wait, why would you bring makeup air in from outside into a unit, and you use that to help control humidity, to do different things like that?
And free cooling.
Yeah. And if it's cool outside, bring some of that air in. If it's hot outside, bring some of that in. And I'm going to say a lot of plumbers, I think a lot of people don't understand there's heat in the air, even if it's 30 degrees outside.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
There's heat in everything. And it's HVAC is just kind of basic hot to cool. Where do you want to cool? Where do you want to remove the heat? So it's HVAC has taught me a lot, and especially in the commercial aspect, about almost all the trades. The plumbers, the pipe fitters, you know, we all have to work together to get, these big commercial systems together, because I can't run my machine if I don't have any pipe, if I don't have any water.
Chilled water, heating water, you bet.
Condenser water, all that kinds of stuff. So we all tie in together. So it's good to you got to learn the machine, but you also got to learn outside. And then that machine sends water to air handlers, and you need to know how it's getting there, maybe how far it's going, because, there's resistance, friction with that water going through that pipe, so it can pick up some heat. If that, some of these buildings got 30, 40, 100 miles worth of pipe, you wouldn't think it, but it's underground, and it's got to come back and go forth. So you have to learn a little bit of everything and kind of be an engineer, but without the title, and you have to understand all that.
New people getting into the trades right now.
Good.
Are they coming in because they want to be good, because they want to learn, because they want to be great? Are they coming in to get a paycheck?
What I've come to find out is that a lot are coming in for the paycheck, and that's understandable. You're young, money's nice.
You got to make money.
You got to make money. And when you start making good money, it's real nice. And I think what I've found from when I was in, or some of the older guys that are veterans that are real good in the trade aspect, not just in HVAC, but plumbing, pipe, and anything. If you come in already kind of growing up, having a general interest in tinkering, whether it's cars, electrical, building stuff, whatever, carpentry, they tend to do better than just somebody coming off the street that doesn't have that experience. And then when it comes to trades, you get what you put in. And if you put in that work, you can go very far, very quickly. And when we get kids coming in that they kind of just took the avenue, they might have known somebody and they see how well they're doing and they try to do it, props on them. Thanks for coming and trying. But you got to have that want and that will to do it. And it's kind of hard to find these days. People having the will to just genuinely want to learn and have an interest in it.
The ones who come in just wanting to make money, what happens, what clicks to make them think, wow, I can really do good at this if I want to?
So I think some people are very money driven. And I think obviously the better you are as a tech or mechanic or a welder or a pipe fitter, obviously you make more money.
You bet.
So some of that, if you have a very money-driven mindset, it's going to kind of push you towards having to learn and having to do better and still a little bit more hard work ethic in you. And I think that's what kind of drives a lot of people. And some of the people I know that are very smart, like they might not have had any mechanical interest, but what they do have an interest in is making money and trying to get that money. And you're only going to make money if you're good at what you do. Right? So I think that's a big thing, is if you want money and you're very determined to get that, some of these kids will come in, they may not know anything and they'll learn it, but they start to learn more because they want to earn more money. They want that raise, or they want that new position and the perks that come with that.
You talked about learning and getting better.
Yes, sir.
A lot of journeymen, once they get their license in their pocket, they quit learning. They're like, look, I got in this trade to become an HVAC technician, an electrician, a plumber, whatever it is. Since you've got your license, what all have you learned? How do you educate yourself now? What have you invested in for you to help you move up and move ahead?
So in Johnson, we have our own training that we do, and it's very good, top of the line. It's over our factory stuff. And as far as HVAC goes, there's always new systems coming out for HVAC, new brands. In plumbing and piping, they might come out with a new way to seal a pipe or a different material. There's
new tools, materials, techniques, and equipment every day.
Coming out all the time.
In every trade.
Every trade. I think in HVAC in particular, I think we have to evolve a little bit quicker than everybody else. Everybody's always, furthering technology, but with the way technology is and always constantly moving, where people are adding more boards, more chips, more steps in the process to do cooling. I think you have to stay on top of your training, just like every other trade, but maybe you got to have a little bit more of a want to and a need to, because if you don't, you'll get left behind. Mm-hmm. And if you get left behind, you're not going to have a job. And it sucks. And you want to stay constantly on it, because if you take a break, stuff changed 6 months. There might be a new way, or maybe the product came out, they found some deficiencies in it, and now there's a different way to do it to kind of help those deficiencies. So you have to stay on top of it, and you have to stay learning and think outside the box, because if you don't, you get left behind. And in HVAC, you can be left behind for good. Everything's always changing.
You bet. What's your favorite thing to do every day now?
I like to run service calls and do repairs. I'm not real big on the maintenance. I get kind of bored and sleepy with it. I don't like.
And by maintenance, just preventive maintenance.
Preventive maintenance.
Come in, look at the system. Yeah, everything's good, or yada, yada, yada.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so that side of things, it's nice every now and again, especially if you've been running and gunning like summer, like a lot of people, it's our money time. It's where we make our most money. It's where you're running the most service calls. It's hot. Things break. It's man-made. It's going to break. But I'd say service calls and repairs, because it's nice fixing those things and having the knowledge to fix those things. And if you do them enough, you might find a little bit more better technique, or a better way to do it, more efficiency, and maybe a safer way. And, this job might have been quoted out for a week, but, you've done this enough, the right ways to do it. It might take you 3 days, and, you can make more money on that quote for your company and for yourself. So it's probably my favorite is going to be service and repair.
What do you just hate doing?
The PMs, brushing tubes, being on a roof every now and again. Sometimes you got air cools on a roof. It's got that white roof, and you got to wash some coils. It's hot. It's reflecting up on you. So some of those roofs get to 150, 160 degrees.
Attics are the same way.
Oh, I know. They're not pleasant either. If I want to do residential, I'd like to do it in a closet unit. It'd be nice, and in the hallway, my air conditioning might be down, but might be 80, 90 in the house, but that attic's 100, 140, 150 degrees.
It does get hot up there. I've gone up there to work on water heaters. I had 3 water heaters that I had to work on. By the time I finished the second one, I'm getting dizzy. I'm like, man, this is crazy.
Coming out drenched in sweat.
Oh, yeah.
Took a shower.
Oh, yeah. Up in the attic, you walk out, you're soaking wet.
That's what I like about commercial, because you're not always outside all the time. Sometimes you get into these plants.
And it's ice cold.
Ice cold.
You're working on one chiller.
One machine, you got plenty of room to work with. The facilities or the engineers are real cool. And they, hey, man, you need some water, or, hey, if you need some, let me know. And they're not.
Yeah. And hey, the cafeteria is right around the corner at break.
Yeah. Well, some of them, like during COVID, they didn't want their people leaving. So they actually, during COVID, there was a lot of places I went that lunch was free, and they'd be like, hey, if you want to go get lunch, it's free. They don't really want people leaving. And you get free lunch.
Getting exposed to other people.
Yes, sir. So it's pretty cool.
So what's the biggest chiller you worked on?
Good. 5,500 ton OM Titan at the airport. And that was the biggest machine I've ever done. And it's a little bit more different than the average machines because, like, we got temperature sensors and transducers. Everything on there is transmitters. So everything gets turned in, a little bit different signal electrically back to the panel for the chiller to read, like the microboard, the brains. This is real cool. I actually was only an apprentice. We have 2 guys that work on them, and one is out in Lubbock and the other one was on vacation, and they just looked at the history of people that have been to that job and the office sent me. I probably struggled a little bit for sure, but after a few phone calls and another guy stopping by, ended up figuring out what the problems were. And like this machine didn't have enough oil, so it caused the bearings to go out on the motor. So they had to get a new motor. That motor's massive. It's probably a good 15 feet high, and I remember vividly. It weighs 19,982 pounds. So it's a really big motor. But it's the biggest one I've worked on. Holds like 17,000 pounds of refrigerant. Most like chillers, the barrels are kind of next to each other, and then you got the motor and the compressor and the D-flange, everything up on top. Well, these are so big, the barrels are stacked on top of each other, and they have a motor, a gearbox, and then the compressor. Just they weigh so much. Like the gearbox weighs like 6,000 pounds on its own. So it's really cool stuff to work on, and you use a lot bigger tools and machinery to move stuff. Like there were some wrenches that we had to use. They're custom made. They weigh like 60, 70 pounds a piece, but they're like 3-4 inches thick, and you have to use them to break certain parts loose. That's crazy. So it's pretty cool stuff.
So you join the union. You got to go to school twice a week.
Yes, sir.
3 nights a week the first semester, right? For OSHA?
Yes, 3 nights a week. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Forgot all about that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Safety first.
Yeah, well, I actually learned some. If I had done right in Rusty's class with the OSHA, I could have got that OSHA training during high school because I got my EPA in high school. So when I went to the union, I had to go through the classes anyways, but I didn't have to do quite as much because I was already EPA University certified. And then if I had done the OSHA, then I wouldn't have had to do that 3 nights.
I'll see. If I'd have known you back then, I'd have said you need to tell them you need to go in as a 3rd year, not a first year, not a 2nd year.
Well, they actually, Johnson had gave me the opportunity to start as a 2nd year. It was a new program, and I hadn't really quite dove into commercial yet, just a little bit of training like in school. So I was like, you know what, just restart me from the beginning. I don't mind. So I kind of started over from first year, going forward.
So did you take a pay cut leaving the other company and coming into Johnson?
No, I did not. Johnson was paying for my school, so they took away my debt. And then I got a little bit more just for the knowledge I knew. So, and at the time it was like every 6 months you get a raise as long as you're doing your dues, doing everything right at work. So it was more pay increase.
Okay, so let's talk about the union for a minute. Pay increase, you said you get a pay raise every 6 months, but really you get 3 pay raises a year because you get your union increases every 6 months, but you also get a cost of living increase.
Yes, sir.
So, really, you get 3 raises a year that each one can be anywhere from 50 or 75 cents to $1, $1.50, something like that.
Yes, sir. And then
kind of nice raises to get along the way.
It is. And then, we renegotiate the contracts, with the contractors that we work for and try to get a little bit more every year as far as like, an hour goes.
So what kind of raises have you seen, say, over the last 3 years? Do you remember what kind of raises you've got each time or what kind of dollar amounts or anything like that?
I can't remember like all of them, but so like the union, you get these raises and then they got like a set scale, right? Once you get turned out and you're a journeyman, like that's the minimum you're going to be paid at any contract.
You bet.
If you're doing good and your boss is like, you're doing everything right, you can get paid above scale.
Oh, I've made above scale from the first or 2nd year I was in the union.
Yeah, me too. So it's, I remember what I was getting And I was usually about between $1 to like $2.50 above scale, pretty much the entire time that I was in school. And that's accredited to Rusty and a little bit of ACS and stuff that I learned from school and the field that helped me get to that. Because going straight out of high school, I don't know if I would have got that, just because all I knew was kind of residential. And, almost all the companies there are just focused on commercial. So it's very nice. And then you got your benefits and stuff. So you can kind of choose how much you want to put into some of those things individually. So it's a good thing coming out. A lot of people have supported their families. There's a lot of generations going on in there. Like I'm second generation. There's people that are 7, 8 generations deep inside Local 100.
Mm-hmm. Are you glad you're in the union now?
I am. Yes, sir, I am.
It pays good.
Pays good. It's done me very well. And there's different locals around. So if you wanted, and then like Johnson, we're a pretty big company. So we have branches in almost every part of the world. So if you wanted to travel, if you're young, you're single, you want to travel, you can you can transfer locals. You can go to different cities, different areas, different parts of the country and enjoy that. Some locals pay more, some locals pay less, you negotiate. There's a minimum that you'll make, and then you got to negotiate after that for anything above it. But, you can, and then running service work, as far as HVAC goes, you're going to be in a work truck, a service truck. So you can negotiate stuff, you can travel, you can do all kinds of nice things.
Have you traveled yet?
I haven't. I was thinking about doing some of the Frick stuff out in West Texas. COVID happened, so I ended up staying here locally, but I've thought about it.
When you train new people, do you get apprentices with you sometimes?
It depends on the job, but more often than not, yes, sir. About 70% of the time.
What's the hardest thing to get them to learn?
It could probably be the electrical. I think I've come to find out, and it was with me too, I could pick up on the refrigeration and the mechanical side a lot easier, and the electrical took me a little bit longer to learn the electrical. I think just showing up on time, and like what I used to do, if I was going to go work with the new Journeyman, I call him the day before, like, hey boss, I'm Benny Montoya. I'm going to be your apprentice the next day or for the week or whatever. Do you need anything from the shop? You can pick up parts. Like if it was an annual for preventative maintenance, we've got PM kits. Maybe we might need a gantry or certain kind of specialty tool to take a head off or whatever. I'd call them like, hey, you need me to do this? Pick up that stuff. Just having that initiative to try to think ahead. And then if you've done it multiple times, myself or any other journeyman, pretty much anybody you work with, if they know you've done it a few times, they're going to expect you to know it, which is true. You should. If you've done it more than once, you should think ahead. If, I'm brazing this and you see my rod's getting low, hey, you should have that oven ready. I shouldn't have to ask, just small things, give them the tools ready. Or if they've done that job 2 or 3 times and they're like, and you went to go pick up parts and they do the job for you, you come back and your work area is clean. They got it brazed up, the nitrogen pressure tested, look for leaks. Usually we'll leave it for, 2, 3, 4 hours just to see how it'll go. Usually if it goes on pressure, you're good. You'll bleed the nitrogen, start a vacuum. They do all these things. It's impressing to whoever you're working with. And it shows that you have an interest in that you're trying to do better, trying to advance.
Cool. Tell me about the best day you ever had at work.
Yeah. Man, that's tough because, like I say, you get what you put in, and as long as you're safe, you're efficient, you're making you're making the company money, your customers happy. There's days that I show up, maybe I do the repair, and it's quick. And let's say I'm done by, 11, 12 o'clock. I just kind of skip lunch, just work through, finish the job. I might call the office and say, hey, what else you got? And they're like, well, we ain't got nothing right now, and this is what it was coded for. Take your 8 hours, go home. That's nice. You can get flexible. Maybe you'll hit the gym before, since you're off early, go hit the gym, less people, pick up groceries, or maybe you got a project vehicle you're working on.
Yep.
Side by side, something, you can kind of just tinker around, and it gives you pretty good freedom.
Tell me about the worst day you've ever had at work.
I can't remember the building. It's somewhere in downtown Dallas. They had, I think they were 2 old YTs, just some low pressure chillers, but they're like 30, 35 years old, not taken care of very well. They called us. They both needed an overhaul. So both machines were down. I was an apprentice at the time. Me and a journeyman, his name was Scott, we went there. We had to take all the piping down because they didn't have any inlets outside of the building to just attach to like a rental chiller. So we spent it took about 3 days. It was probably about 16 hours the first day. Second day was 20, and the third day was like 22. And we had to take all this piping down. We had to run about 300 to 400 foot of temporary hose down 2.5, 3 floors down into a basement. Same with the electrical. They brought us the rental chiller, and one circuit was locked on the compressor, and the other circuit was flat. And it's just a 2-circuit, air-cooled machine on a trailer. Well, obviously we can't use that. So that trucker had left the trailer there, and we were like, "What? We can't do nothing." So we went home, get some sleep. We come back, and we sat there tying in the hoses and the piping, the electrical, and stuff like that. And they finally found someone to pick up the trailer. Well, the guy picks it up. He gets high centered on a curb with the trailer. He can't. His 18-wheeler, both his tires are off the ground out on the back, and we have another rental that's
ready to come in,
but he can't go in because this guy took up all the space because these rental trailers are huge. They're on a semi-trailer. And he ended up finally getting like 2 4x4s, putting them underneath his back tires, and he finally got off. But he rolled in the other guy rolled in that other chiller. One circuit was good, and the other circuit was low on gas. So it was a small leak. But we end up having the rental company bring us some refrigerant. We tied in that one, the pump and everything, and added refrigerant. We ran it. And then we had to monitor it. So it was a long 3 days. But me and him both got a Yeti cooler out of it from our bosses.
There you go.
Good job. So it was pretty cool. And they sent us some. I can't remember the company, but I guess they send like meats to your house and stuff, like steaks. So they sent us some steaks. It was a long 3 days, but ended up paying off towards the end.
And you get a nice paycheck at the end of that week.
You do get a nice paycheck. We did a lot of overtime because, for us, anything over 8 hours is overtime. Saturdays are overtime. Holidays, Sundays double. And
anything over 12 is double.
Anything over 12, that's for the plumbers.
Oh, y'all don't get that?
Yeah, HVAC's a little more different just because the fact we run a lot more service calls and, work a little bit, different hours at times. But on the holidays, if you're on call and it's a holiday, you can technically call it triple time.
Triple time, yeah.
You're going out on the holidays, double time, plus you got your 8 hours of on-call time.
You bet.
So we call it triple, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, nice day. I don't like the no double time after 8 because as a plumber, I love that.
Oh, well. Yeah.
Once you go over 12, it's double time. It's like, yeah. I mean, I had plenty of $100 an hour days. It's
it's
like
nice.
I like this.
It's real nice.
I guess you had Rick Johnston as an instructor.
I did have
He's been around forever, hadn't he?
I think he's still instructor.
He was there when I was an instructor.
Yeah, he's pretty chill dude.
He understands HVAC though, doesn't he?
Oh yes, he does.
He's good at it.
He's a good teacher. He's real mellow, real cool guy. I liked him.
One of the smartest people I know. You can talk to him about anything, HVAC, refrigerant, plumbing, all of it. He gets it. Sharp guy.
Oh yeah.
What was your favorite thing about going through the training center?
Man, and in the union, you build relationships with who you work with. But when you go to school, especially in the service side, everybody's working for different companies. Not just service, but plumbing. Anybody in the local, everybody's working for different companies. But you can talk to other guys, get to know other guys, and eventually, let's say you're not happy with where you're at. You can call that deal like, hey, y'all hiring, y'all looking, and he might tell you, yeah, they'll come on over. But I'd probably say just shooting the shit with the guys in the school, you know, and then we get our little breaks in between. So it's good. And then some of the classes are pretty good there too. So it's kind of good.
If you go to learn, you can.
Yes, you can.
But if you go to just pass and get through, you can sleep your way through class and do that too sometimes.
Yeah, you can do that, but it'll get you at the end with that test.
It will, won't it?
Yes, it will.
So when I was there as an instructor, we had the UA Star exam. So I got my plumbing UA Star. Then I got my pipe fitting UA Star. Not worried about HVAC. That's not a big deal for me. But then later I became an HVAC tech. So I'm a certified HVAC tech. I just don't know anything about residential. It was all commercial. But you talked about maybe one day opening your own company.
Yes, sir.
Getting out on your own. And that's hard to do in commercial.
Very hard.
You got to have a lot of money put up.
A lot.
Because with 30, 60, 90, and 120-day payouts, the work you do today, you may not be paid for 3 or 4 months.
There's those times, yeah, you some customers, you got to go through their billing process, or they might dispute sometimes what you were doing. And sometimes you could go some time without, you're not going to get paid that right then and there at the end of the week. Sometimes, like you said, it go a couple weeks, couple months, whatever.
Residential, you get paid that day.
Yes, you do.
Almost always.
Almost always. Yes, you do.
I don't understand why more people don't do residential.
I think it goes to what you're shown. You kind of, if a lot of people can be kind of content with what they do, and if you're only shown this and you only do this and don't kind of try to wonder or have some kind of aspiration outside of it, it's kind of what you're going to stay stuck doing. Like I said, some people are money driven, or they want to be able to do certain things all the time, and I think when you get to having aspirations, eventually you're going to want to go from working under somebody to running your own thing.
You say that, but I want you to think about this. And this is something I always try to look at in the trades. How many people do you work around daily right now that are doing the exact same thing they were doing 5 years ago? Same position, same job. Most of them, other than the union raises, it's the same pay. Instead of $2 over scale, they're not getting 5 over scale now, or 10 over scale. They're still at 2 over scale.
Mm-hmm.
Same place they were 5 years ago. Why do some people get in and get so complacent that they don't grow? That they slide in that comfort zone. They don't learn anything. They don't go to school. They don't work for Johnson. They work for a company that, man, we got a job to do. Go do the job.
I think when you get to that kind of level of complacency and all those things, some people operate just off of, they have like a certain schedule, right? And they like to maintain that schedule. They don't like to work overtime. They don't want to do any kind of extra training outside of work. When you get like that, sometimes it can be nice. You might get a schedule made just for you, how you wanted it to be. So it gets kind of hard to get out of that if you kind of getting everything you want. But it pays to, I think, have good people around you, to see other people doing well. If you are who's around you. So like if, everybody's
show me your 5 best friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. And, it kind of works like that. A lot of people in the union, or, anybody, when you go to work, as you get older, you kind of grow from your friends that you've been around, and you kind of make friends at work. And if y'all are kind of doing the same thing and you're kind of complacent, it's kind of something you get set into. If you have people around you doing more, chasing that foreman position, the service manager position, or they want to be able to have a little bit more freedom outside of work, maybe go on vacations more, they're going to want to do more, and you're going to have to do more to get after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when people get complacent, it's just the fact that they're okay with what they have. They're not doing any better, but they're not doing any less, and they're okay with where they're at. And that's just an individual thing, I think. So if you can just surround yourself with better people wanting to do better, generally you're going to want to step up and try to do that, because competition breeds champions. So, if you get nobody's competing, you're all kind of complacent, like, oh yeah, he's doing that. You're okay. Some people are okay with that.
Do you see people around you that are in the same spot they were 5 years ago?
Generally, yes. Seen some do a little bit better. But for the most part, yeah, they're all kind of around in the same thing.
Look, I did it. I'm not laughing at them. I'm not talking bad about them.
Okay.
From the day I got my license in 83 or 84, I didn't learn anything new till after I got in the union. And then I got my med gas license. Then I got my master's license. Then I got my master med gas. Then I got my WSPS, my fire protection system. I started, I can learn and grow. Joined the UA University. Started learning construction management. Started learning all kinds of different things. And I'm like, wow, the more I learn, the more money I make. The more I learn, the better job opportunities I get. The more I learn, the more job positions I get offered.
You add value.
And you keep moving up and making more money. And, I tell people all the time, because I pretty much worked for Beard or Brandt most of my time in the union for, 20 years. The last year I worked at Denali. But I remember talking to my dad one day, and my dad worked for AT&T for 40 years. AT&T, Western Electric, Southwestern Bell. He never left. He worked for the same company. It got absorbed by different people, so the name changed. But he worked for the same company from the time he got out of the Navy. And I remember going over there one day, and I told him, I'm not at Brand anymore. I'm at Beard. And talking about the job that I was on and whatnot. And he looked at me and he said, son, don't you think it's time to settle down and pick one company and stay there and grow with them and, do good things like that? And I said, yeah, probably. I said, but Dad, you understand, I don't just quit and leave. Other companies call me and say, hey, we've got a job we need you to do. We've got a job that you can do that it's med gas, it's this or it's plumbing, electrical, and HVAC, and you understand all of it. I said, Dad, I don't just leave. I said, people pay me to come to work for them. I said, this last time I left this company and went to this company, I got a $6 an hour raise. I said, that's $12,000 a year. And he stopped and he's like, you just left and went to another company for an extra $12,000 a year? I said, yeah. He said, you just keep doing what you're doing. I think you're doing okay.
Yeah.
He never got a $6 an hour raise, And the more you learn and the better you get at it, the more people want you to come to work for them to do different things. What kind of things are you offered through the union or on your own? And Johnson's a great company. Like you said, they've got their own training center, which makes it great. Are there things outside of Johnson that you're looking at and learning, or are you just sticking on the Johnson education plan, which, don't get me wrong, is a great plan?
So I like to learn from there. I'm trying to get absolutely everything I can out of the training from them. Outside of that, the union does offer like foreman classes and other little bit higher levels, like supervising management type of things. Outside of that, of the union and Johnson, I'm trying to do my contractor's license. I'm trying to learn more to kind of step out, do my own thing, like a residential type company for HVAC. And, one day I'd love to get into like a commercial aspect, maybe doing rental chillers or having a few contracts, kind of like what we do now, but for Johnson. But outside of that, I'd like to learn as much as I can, because like I was saying, like, you got these chillers. Chiller don't run without pipe, electricity, water. You got all these other trades that controls sometimes. If they got a control system, you got to learn it all.
Controls are huge.
Very huge. So you got to learn all of that. You got to learn how different things works, drives, valves. Maybe it's pneumatic, an older style pneumatic, or It might be just, electrical signals, DC. So outside of that, I'm trying to learn as much as I can because I want to do my own thing and be able to kind of leave a legacy for my own family. And, I'm real big on like the friends I have. I'd like to help them do better as well too. So, and sometimes your friends can be your most trustworthy people around, and they can help you get a business off the ground like that.
Mm-hmm.
So learning residential, hopefully get into commercial, as far as the business side of things go, and try to get that going.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I would like to have my own residential company and fully dedicate myself to that. And maybe one day I might leave Johnson, or maybe one day I can help Johnson and they might need some work done. Maybe I get into the commercial side of things and, I can hit up people that I know, like, hey, I see you need this, what can I do to help you with it? And we'll work with them and not for them.
I like that. What is it Johnson does that makes it such a wonderful company? Because like you said, when you got in the union, you said, look, Johnson kept coming up number one. And I've known a lot of people that have worked at Johnson and great people that do wonderful things. What is it about Johnson that makes them a great place to work?
So I'm real big, like you were saying, people, the more you learn, the better you do, people are going to try to hire you. So Johnson gives you the ability to excel your training to another level. And once you learn that information, makes you a better mechanic, makes you a better people talker too at the same time. But the daily lifestyle, work lifestyle is very nice, and you have the factory backup as your support. They can get you the literature. They can sometimes, if it's complicated enough, you can escalate it to different levels, and you can have the engineer come right in, and sometimes he may talk with you over the phone, or if it's serious enough, he can come out. And each time you have an experience like that, you learn so much on a piece of equipment. But it's just that you have the backup, the support, the training. Johnson's very good about giving you the best tools to work with, so you're more efficient, you're safer. Like we have a stop work policy. If let's say you're a subcontractor and you're doing something for us, you have to go by your company's safety policy, but as well as ours. So if I see you doing something that isn't safe, I'm going to have to tell you we're going to pull a stop work, and we're going to have to find a better way to do that. So the ability to be able to do something like that without having to be worried about like, hey, somebody's going to come at me for stopping the job,
not making money.
All right. So they're very good about that, and just the daily work lifestyle. I mean, sometimes I get off early, and it's nice. You get off early a couple times a week, or a couple times a month. Just the lifestyle is pretty easy.
You ain't getting off a lot early at this time of year, are you?
No, not during the summertime. That's our money making time. That's where
April and November. You probably work 6 days a week, almost every week. Do you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the overtime's it's where you make your money. But heat, when it's hot, that's when stuff breaks. And the wintertime, I say, is where it comes in on the back end, that where it's real nice, because most of the time you'll be inside in a heated or cooled building room. And
at least inside where the wind ain't blowing on you.
And the wind ain't blowing on you. It's raining, that cold rain, ice, so you ain't gonna worry about slipping or falling. It's a very good lifestyle that they offer you at Johnson. And that's why I think a lot of people stay for longevity wise. You look at some of the people here, as long as you're doing the right things, you kind of, the business model is run your van is your shop, your office, kind of run it like that. And if you do, you can kind of work towards, hey, tell the office, hey, I got to go here. You can kind of make your own schedule. You kind of do your own thing. And to have that kind of power and that flexibility to do those kinds of things makes your work life a lot easier.
And when I put technicians in van, it's the same way. It's like, look, this is your revenue center. Okay. You run it, you keep it stocked. If you run out of materials, you make sure they're ordered before you go to the next job. That way you're not showing up with a half empty truck. And it's like, oh man, that last job, emptied me out, or the one yesterday emptied me out. I mean, you should have got all that stuff replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Running it like your own business. And I remember walking a job in the union. One of the first, God, it may have been the first week I was in the union. I went to a job and I'm walking it with the superintendent, and he's showing me around and where I'm going to be working and all the other people on the job. And he walks up and there's people sweeping the floor, and he walks over and he pulls out about 6 or 8 3/8 inch hex nuts, sticks them in his pocket. I'm like, well, what'd you do that for? He said, well, they're hex nuts. I said, okay, they're like 3 cents a piece. He said, okay. He says, I don't want anybody to throw them away. He said, I just saw them in the trash, so I dug them out. And I said, man, you treat this like it's your job. He said, it is my job. I'm responsible for every penny on it. I'm like, man, that's the way I want to think about it. And it's neat when you get people like that are like, look, this is my revenue center. This is my shop, my business, and run it that way and really take that personal pride in it. I think that's such a huge deal. How'd you start seeing it like that? Because there's a lot of people, like I said, that just show up and I want to go out and get the job done. That's all I want. It doesn't have to be perfect. It looks great from their house. Looks great from 30,000 feet up in the air. But when you get down and look at it, it's like, man, that's not a really good job. You just got in and got stuff done. What makes you want to become really, really good?
So when I started as an apprentice, I just kind of in anything I want to do, I want to try to be the best I can. I want to lead. I wanted to find the best way I could to try to get to that point where I can run my own jobs. So I would do maybe like a certain kind of training, like we have a vibration training for some motors. It was brand new at the time. You know, I know I was only been there for about a year, but I really wanted to do my own jobs and show them, even though I'm a first or second year apprentice, I might have a third or fourth year's worth of knowledge and work ethic. So I did that training, was like the first one to do it. So I got to do a lot more jobs on my own, and taking the pride that, you know, hey, I'm the only one who knows how to do this, right? Do it right and work out the bugs, you know, because new things are going to have bugs most of the time, always. And I'd like to say between rusty and then like before I got into the trades, you know, like 12 to 19, I was kind of, you know, picking in the fields, you know, fruits and vegetables. So that's hard work, and you do it enough and it kind of gets instilled into you. But I'd like to make sure the job looks good. It was done the best way possible, the safest way possible, most efficient, and make sure that customer's happy. And when you do stuff like that and you leave good work, you know, it reflects back onto you, and you might get more work. Maybe that engineer knows another engineer at a different building, and maybe they met up for lunch one day, or that other engineer from another building came over and he sees like, hey man, this plant's nice, machine's taken care of, you know, everything's running good. You know, word of mouth travels very well.
You bet.
And that can get you new work, and everybody likes to compliment, you know, and it's good to be recognized. It feels good, but to be able to do that kind of good work, that great work, time in and time again, that just reflects back onto you. And I like seeing work done to perfection best I can.
How often do you come in behind somebody else and realize everybody else doesn't see it that way?
Quite often. I think you could probably say it yourself too.
Oh yeah.
Some people do just enough. They know how that company works or that business works, and they do just enough to stay out from underneath the radar. And it's frustrating at times, because it's like, if you want to do it right and they did it the wrong way, you know, now you've got to go. If the original problem wasn't that bad, they added to it. Now you've got to work, you know, twice as hard, 3 times as hard to get that done. So, and then you already got a, you know, pissed off or frustrated customer. So that kind of adds to it. And they're kind of, you know, they might lean over your shoulder and they might be watching you like a hawk. Sometimes you got to deal with that. It's very frustrating that you come across people that do work like that. But at the same time, when you get it fixed, at the end of the day, you might have just acquired a new customer, or we have some customers with many technicians, including myself, where they like you so much, they'll be like, hey, they'll call office. our machine's down, but I only want so-and-so to come out here. I want nobody else. And then you build that kind of repertoire and that relationship with the customer, you know, it's almost like you're buddies with them. And, you know, it makes the jobs go smoother. They're a lot more understanding, but they trust you to do good work. And that customer that might have been hawking you the whole time, now he's just like, hey, here's a badge, you know, call me if you need anything. And they're out doing their own thing, you know, doing their job, chilling, and they trust you. So it's very nice.
I've had those engineers where it's like I had their keys. And it's like, look, just go take care of this. And it's like, well, what do you want me to do with the keys when I'm done? Just hold on to them. I don't know where they're at. And I mean, you had keys to the entire plant. It's like, okay, this is crazy. But pretty neat stuff. I've been there where I've worked like 36 hours straight. And it's like doing a shutdown or doing a changeover. And it's like, hey, look, I'm going to get out of here. It's like, no, you're not. You stay here. You got your crews are rotating. You just go to your office, take a nap, do whatever. Sleep for an hour or two at a time. We'll come back and get you. So it's pretty wild.
Rental machines, it's tiring.
Yeah. I remember going out to the truck and sleeping 2 hours at a time. And like, okay, I got to get some rest. So
yeah, well, it's
kind of wild commercial.
It is. But you get to learn and see a lot of things and meet new people and make new connections. And oftentimes you're doing the right thing. Like you were saying, job opportunities pop up pretty quick.
Yeah,
often.
they do. Well, Benny, look, this has been great. Tell everybody again who you are and what you do.
I'm Benny Montoya. I am in the local 100. I work for Johnson Controls. I'm a journeyman HVAC mechanic, and it's my career path and is what I do to make a good living.
If people wanted to find out more about you or Johnson Controls or anything, is there anywhere they can find you, connect with you on social media, anything like that, or get in touch with Johnson Controls or what?
I'm not too big on social media, but they could, you know, definitely reach out to me through you or through Johnson Controls or Rusty, if anybody knows Rusty. That's probably be the best way to reach out to me.
So let's go back to the day that you graduated high school. You walk out, graduation, go home, go to sleep that night. You wake up that Monday morning to either go to school, go to work, go do whatever it is you're going to do. You wake up that next Monday morning after graduation and walk out the front door, and you're standing there now. What would you tell little Benny?
Learn a little bit more, a little bit quicker, and don't be afraid to take any leaps of faith towards new avenues that could change your life. Whether it's starting a new business or carrying yourself a certain way, you know. Treat others like you want to be treated. You know, I think for me, I want to get these things going. You take the leap. And at the end of the day, I know that I'll find a way to make it happen. Well, no matter what happens, go ahead and take that leap, and you might set yourself up for an even better future.
Is there anything you wish you'd have done different?
It's a tough one. I don't really regret much. I think probably not trying to like I want to start that residential. Probably wishing I started it sooner, just so I can try to kind of get out ahead and be on, you know, be my own boss type of thing, you know. And I like riding side by sides and all that other stuff. You have a better way to go enjoy the things I like.
You bet. This has been fun.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Benny.